guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Bláithín from A Style of Living. So today I want to talk about HYGGE. It's International HYGGE Day on February 28th. And first thing I'm going to say is I have no idea how to pronounce it. None whatsoever. HYGGE is a Danish way of living well, and it focuses on warmth, coziness and well-being, and I absolutely love the concept and everything it stands for. Unfortunately, I just don't understand the language or can pronounce it, but one of the great introductions I had to it was in this book here. I bought this book, I want to say about 3 or 4 years ago, when HYGGE sort of became like an international trend. It possibly was way before that, but when it came on my radar, and every bookshop I went into seemed to have a number of these sort of styled books for sale, still do, and I picked up this one. And what I loved about the introduction, I'm going to read you just a very small snippet of the introduction, because for me it really sort of encapsulated what it was, and also most importantly that it was okay not to pronounce it correctly. So basically, the opening page on the introduction starts off with, it's not important how you choose to pronounce or even spell HYGGE. To paraphrase one of the greatest philosophers of our time, Winnie the Pooh, when asked how to spell a certain emotion, he said, "You don't spell it, you feel it." And I think that really does lend itself well to this as well. So as I mentioned, it's a Danish way to live well, and it focuses on warmth, coziness and well-being. And I feel that HYGGE exists in every culture and country, but perhaps there isn't a term or a word used to sort of describe or encapsulate it. I definitely think it exists here in Ireland. I just don't think that we sort of have this, you know, term for it or expression for it. Perhaps we do, and I'm just completely oblivious to it. But basically, when you read through this book or a book or do any research on it, it really talks about you know, this in the Danish way of life, but it sort of seems all encapsulating as to how they live their lives, which is really interesting. And perhaps it is largely driven by the fact that they live in a country where it tends to be colder for longer periods of time, and it tends to be darker for longer periods of time, as opposed to, say, somewhere tropical and hot. But basically, there are a number of key factors or elements in order to create like a HYGGE environment or HYGGE life. And they focus on, I've kind of broken them down into, let's say, like 5 main groups. And again, this is not me doing this. This is, you know, from the book, from my research, from my understanding. And they are, for me, what seems very obvious is that your home is your HYGGE headquarters. It's where most of your HYGGE happens, or where you plan most of it. That's not to say that it doesn't happen outside the home, but it does seem to be a very large part of it. And so, like, you're talking about things like, you know, big fireplaces, having like a book nook or a little nook in your home that you go and you cozy up with your cozy blankets and, you know, your cushions, and you drink like your favorite hot drinks. In one way, it is about living a life that is kind of indulgent. So it's about sort of like cozy, casual clothing, tasty food, cakes, pastries, all of those things, creating memories. It's about atmosphere and light and love. And to be honest, it's something that I just absolutely, it just makes my heart relaxing. And I suppose the fact that there is an international celebratory day is great, and I thought it might be fun to kind of share with you some ideas on, you know, how to celebrate the day yourself, or indeed if you have a friend who's feeling down, a little unwell, perhaps it's nearly their birthday, a great sort of like HYGGE gift bag idea, or gift a great HYGGE like sort of gift hamper idea full of like really HYGGE related things. But for me, like, you don't have to necessarily go all out. Like, it could be as simple as lighting a few candles, running a hot bath with some nice bubble bath, choosing your favorite book, even if you've read it like 15 times, and you know, whatever your favorite glass of or cup of whatever it is, be that a hot chocolate or a cappuccino or a nice glass of mulled wine or a glass of wine, whatever it is, and just like relaxing and sort of like cozying up and taking the moment to be warm and cozy and to look after your well-being. Last week's video was on self-care, and I think this is like a nice kind of like almost continuation of that, because a great deal about what is HYGGE is about self-care. It's about creating those environments that you truly love, you know, creating togetherness with your friends and family, and that is a big HYGGE thing about creating memories and traditions, and you know, sort of sharing those with friends and family, be they, you know, special things that you cook or bake together, or just like board games, coming around for a games evening, or just like, you know, an easy Sunday, you know, popping around for some like, you know, drinks and nibbles and a few games, things like that. And like I said, communication and friendships are hugely important in self-care as well. I do feel like HYGGE is a great way of practicing self-care as well, both for yourself and to introduce friends and family to too. So like I said, with International HYGGE Day coming up on the 28th of February, I do think it's a lovely time to either put together a big or a small little kind of hamper for anybody who might need it. If somebody's had a rough start to the year, or it's their birthday, or something tragic has happened to them, I think it's a lovely idea to put together. And obviously it could be super extravagant, or it could be something nice and simple, just to say, I'm thinking of you, and you know, have you heard about this way of living? It's all about warmth, coziness and well-being, and who doesn't need that in their life? So like I said, this book, it's quite a thick book, talks about a great deal of things in order to be HYGGE and to practice HYGGE. And like I mentioned, the home is a big one, and including in your home like things that you really love, and including nature and books and your favorite things. And I've mentioned light, so atmosphere, candles, lamps, all of that, hugely important as well. And things like food and drink and clothing. So the Danes have this very casual way of dressing and fashion sense. They kind of favor like woolly socks and woolly jumpers and such. Not to say that they wear those things necessarily going to work, but I mean in their downtime and at home. And I think that's something off, like loungewear at the moment is so big. And I know in our home, often when we come home from work, or say when the working day ends, because obviously I work in the home, once James comes home and we've had our dinner, we will often change into our pajamas or loungewear and just be comfortable and cozy and snuggle down in nice blankets and light a fire and have candles going. So you can see what I mean, that just because HYGGE is a Danish way to live well, it actually exists in so many cultures. So let's talk about creating a hamper or a gift idea for some of our friends and what we might include in that. So taking our inspiration from all of the important things of HYGGE, I would suggest, I do have a little list down here to guide me to. So I would suggest things like candles and the person's favorite chocolates or teas or coffees or whatever their favorite drink might be. There is a tendency with Hing that it's kind of like a warm or a hot drink, but look, whatever works for that person. But think of their favorite things, like their favorite books or box sets. Woolen socks is a big one, definitely. Warm jumper, cushions and blankets, like really soft tactile blankets that you just want to wrap yourself in. I think a notebook, journaling is such a lovely thing to do, and of course writing down memories and traditions in them too. And also a writing set is another lovely idea that I came across. So like a nice kind of old-fashioned writing set for sending letters to friends who are near and far. Music is another nice one. So again, you know, music that sort of brings joy to the person. So whatever that might be for the individual that you might be giving the gift to. And then another lovely one that I came across was their favorite letters. So when I was a teenager in school, it was just on the cusp of mobile phones being invented. Well, not being invented, but being sort of prevalent in society, where everybody had one. The year I was 17 was the year everybody got a mobile phone for Christmas. But prior to that, in school, we would write ourselves notes and we would either pass them to each other or we would put them in our lockers or school bags when we had the opportunity. And I kept, not all, but a great deal of those letters and notes that my friends would have given and sent to me when we were teenagers. And every so often, I keep them in a large tin and I will read back over them. And they are just, some of them are hilarious and some of them are just so stupid and silly. But it's such a lovely thing to do, to have those memories. So in the case where you might have corresponded with the person by letter or even email, where you could print them out, do so and include them, because it's a lovely way of revisiting great, funny, silly memories, and it's a lovely Hing thing to do. So, as I mentioned, I bought this book about 3 or 4 years ago. And so for me, I've only really been aware of Hing for the last 3 or 4 years, but I do feel like I've been practicing elements of it my entire life. My favorite things definitely are candles, an open fire, hot drinks like hot chocolate or mulled wine, loads of yummy pastries and cakes, and spending time with good friends. I love to make puzzles with my husband, especially during the snow. Not that it snows often here in Ireland, but we do have a small selection of puzzles that when it snows or if it's stormy, we take out and make together, and it's just such a lovely, lovely thing to do. But I want to know, what are your favorite things to do? Or is this the first you're hearing about Hing? And you know, what do you think of it? If you're not Irish or a different culture and not Danish, do you have a similar practice or way of living wherever you're from? Do share it with me in the comments below. If you liked this video, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more, do remember to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I shall see you next week. Bye.